Welcome to the Academy, a series focused on the basics of Star Wars: The Old Republic. Reaching into the dark side of the Force can grant the user incredible power, but its malevolent energy takes a toll on the user's mind and body. Flesh and bone lack the endurance needed to channel the immense power of the dark side for long periods of time. And over time, any creature that leans too far into the dark side will become physically corrupted by its power. In this video, we'll be going over how the dark side of the Force will change the appearance of your character in Star Wars: The Old Republic. As you play the game, you'll notice your character earns dark side and light side points. These most noticeably come from making dark or light choices in cutscenes during the story with your character. You can also earn dark side points from many other sources based on a toggle found on the bottom right of the screen. You declare your character's allegiance to the dark side or the light side, and almost any activity in-game will earn you dark or light points, including most missions and defeating any enemies. Your dark side or light side ranking usually does not have a big effect on the story, as your character always gets to make their own decisions independently of their alignment. There's only a few cool instances, like the Sith Inquisitor story, where there are minor variations depending on your character's alignment. The biggest effect your alignment has on your character is your appearance. As you move towards the dark side of the Force, your character will become visually corrupted. Your eyes will change, their skin will become paler and lose its color, and the veins of your character's face will become more visible. This dark side corruption can be toggled on and off in the character panel, which can be opened with C on your keyboard, then by clicking the tiny symbol of an armor set near the numbered tabs at the top, and the setting itself is called Show Dark Side Corruption at the bottom of the panel. This panel is also where you can see your current alignment and how many dark side points you have by rolling over the alignment bar. Your character's dark side corruption increases as you gain more dark side points and will change when your dark side level goes up or down. The rest of this video is going to be showing off some of the cool differences you can get with dark side corruption at the different levels as well as on different species in the game. So here's what a human character might look like with either a neutral alignment or a light side alignment. I've chosen a character with very pale skin. You can see she has blue eyes and she really doesn't have any blemishes or anything on her face. Once she reaches tier 1 of dark side, and that's 3,000 dark side points total, she won't have a lot of changes, but her eyes will turn yellow. This eye color change will happen and be the same no matter what your original eye color will be. For humans specifically, they turn a bright, luminous yellow. When she hits Dark Side Tier 2, that's at 20,000 Dark Side points. That's when you can really start noticing that nasty dark side corruption. Somehow, although her skin tone slider was all the way to the left as light as it could possibly go, she's managed to get even paler than before with less pigment in her skin. Her eyes haven't changed, she still has the bright glowing eyes from Dark 1, but she has very dark markings all around her eyes and around her mouth. These are actually her veins becoming far more visible beneath her skin. At Dark Side Tier 3 at 40,000 Dark Side points, it will look exactly the same as Tier 2, but as we move into Tier 4 of Dark Side at 67,500 Dark Side points, there is a huge difference, and this is full Dark Side corruption. If it's possible, she's gotten even paler again. The corruption of her veins is visible across almost all the entirety of her face. It's all along her cheekbones, all along her forehead, all along the bottom of her eyes, as well as even more around her mouth than before. And her eyes have gotten a bright, luminescent kind of orangey red color. And there is a 5th tier, Tier 5 at 100,000 dark side points, but once again your character will look exactly the same as the previous tier. I chose a light-skinned human for that first example so you could most easily see those veins and the corruption, but dark side corruption on a character with darker colored skin is also really cool because you can more visibly see that change in their skin color where they become a lot paler, the pigment is lost from their skin, they really look like they're quite sick, maybe like they're turning into a zombie. Now let's go through another really cool example of going through the tiers of dark side. We're going to do this on a red Twi'lek. As you can see, my Twi'lek starts off with very bright, vivid red skin. I've got very blue eyes for her, and she doesn't have any blemishes on her face except for her tattoos. As she moves down to Dark Side 1, she gets those bright luminous yellow eyes just the same as humans do. no other change. And when she gets down to Dark Side 2, this is where she starts getting really cool. You can see a very noticeable change in her skin color. It's lost a lot of pigment, she's gotten a lot paler and a lot more scary looking. She looks like she's quite unhealthy right now. She's got those yellow eyes again. And although it's not quite as noticeable, she does have those kind of veins growing around the under part of her eyes as well as around her mouth. I don't know quite how it works on different colors of Twi'leks, but in this specific case, she also got some really bright pink magenta eyelids around her eyes. Another cool thing about using a Twi'lek character, or a character with tattoos in general, is that the tattoos, because they are simply ink, do not change color, and they give a really stark difference between that pale skin color as well. Just like humans or any other species, Dark Side 3 looks exactly the same as Dark Side 2, but once you jump into Dark Side 4, there's another dramatic difference. At Dark Side 4, my Twi'lek does have those same cool, glowing, luminescent orange eyes that is full Dark Side corruption. Her skin has also lost enough pigment that you can see that really nasty dark side corruption. The veins are all over her forehead, all along her cheekbones, as well as all over her mouth again. And I started with a bright red Twi'lek for this example. If you start with a Twi'lek who has a quite lighter colored skin to start with, like the pale blue colors, your Twi'lek will almost turn all the way white by the time you reach Dark Side full corruption. And same thing as my human, Dark Side 5 looks exactly the same as the previous tier. So now let's take a unique look at what the different species look like compared to their neutral look with their full dark side corruption right beside them in cutscenes. So we already took a little look at humans, but the way humans are corrupted is going to be exactly the same if you're playing a Cyborg character, a Mira Luca character, or a Republic Zabrak character. I mentioned before that the Twi'lek skin color that you choose does kind of change the way their skin looks once they're corrupted. For example, I've got this light-skinned Twi'lek, and she's almost white when I put her all the way to dark side corruption. So now let's see some of the other species. The Chiss corruption is quite cool. First off, their eyes don't change because they already have completely red eyes, but they do get the very, very pale skin, as well as the dark side corrupted veins all over their face. Nautiloons, the most recent addition to the game, have a very interesting dark side corruption. At the highest level of dark side corruption, you don't get the paler, unpigmented skin as you do with the other species, but you do get the dark side veins and an interesting change in the eye color. Although they're not the bright, glowing orange, red, or yellow of the other species, Nautiloons do get a slightly reddish-purple glaze to their eyes, regardless of what their original eye color was. Most interestingly, this might not be what Nautiloons were meant to look like with full dark side corruption, but it's what we got in game. I have actually seen an interesting post by another player who tested what Darkseid might look like when Nautiloons were first released, and they have these bright red eyes, and they do have that very creepy, depigmented skin. However, in-game right now, they just show up as having the veins, and the change in the color eyes is a little more subtle than the bright red glowing ones. Mirialans probably win my award for creepiest dark side corruption. Much like the humans, they have the unpigmented skin, they have the bright glowing orange eyes, as well as the veins. However, there is just something very strange about that light-skinned green color. Even if your Mirialan had the most pigmented green skin as if they were the She-Hulk, they still turn out to be this very zombie-like character once full dark side corruption is on. Togruta have the most strange dark side corruption. When choosing your Togruta, you have a couple different options when it comes to their coloration. You can choose the color of their skin on their face, in this case the purple face color, as well as separately the color of their Maw Trail pattern. That's on their little horns. When you have full dark side corruption on, it for some reason does not affect the colors on their Maw Trails, it only affects the coloration on their face. And as you can see, my Togruta has grown quite pale, and she's got that bright orange eyes. What's very interesting about Togruta is that they don't get those dark side, very visible veins like many of the other species do, but if you look on the left hand side, the uncorrupted version, due to the pattern of her skin, the corrupted version on the right hand side actually looks cleaner than the original version because it all blends together between the white skin tone and the purple skin tone, especially if you look under her left eye. I'm a little confused on this one. So this is the Sith Pureblood. You would expect that my Sith Pureblood would become very pale pinkish colored once I enter full Darkside 5 corruption. You can see that she's got the very horrible looking veins and corruption around her mouth and eyes especially, and she also gets the bright red glowing eyes. I have, however, seen other players post pictures of their characters with full Darkside corruption with that pale skin, so I'm not sure if it's a current bug or just my character was very unlucky on this one. The Ratataki are an interesting case when it comes to Darkside corruption. As we've seen, one of the hallmarks of it is that the skin becomes quite pale, but the Ratataki are about as pale as they come when their skin is pure white. However, it does give Darkside corruption a chance to shine. First off, the Ratataki are one of the few species that get the full dark red glowing eyes, as well as the corruption around the eyes and mouth and neck being very noticeable against their extremely pale skin. Although I mentioned the Republic Zabrak style does corrupt very similarly to humans, the Imperial Zabrak style with the red colored skin corrupts more similarly to the other aliens. As you can see on my Zabrak, her skin becomes very pale pink. She still keeps her dark tattoos for a really nice contrast, and she gets those bright orange glowing eyes. And lastly, Darkside corruption on Cathar, the cat-like people, does still have an effect even though they are covered in fur. In my Cathar's case, I actually picked the darkest, blackest fur color that I could find, and it corrupted all the way to an almost white and very light tan orange color on her fur. Because the Cathar's eyes are different than the other species, you also get this very cool orange, very visible eye color. I did want to show you guys one more option you have available if you like the way Darkside corruption looks. Many players like the yellow or orange eyes available through Darkside corruption, but either don't want to keep their tune very carefully in that Darkside tier, or don't want to have the other Darkside corruption flaws. There are a few Cartel Market customizations you can use if you like the yellow eyes and want to keep them on your character without worrying about the rest of the Darkside options. Two of them are exact mirrors of what you get through the Darkside corruption, so you've got the yellow eyes as well as the orange eyes in the later tiers. Then there's also some very bright, almost luminescent yellow eyes, as well as a kind of hybrid between the yellow and orange Darkside eyes. The super bright yellow eyes are from an item called Appearance option, Bright Yellow Eyes, and is quite inexpensive. And the other three eyes come from an item called Appearance Options Expanded Selections, which is a pack of hairstyles and eye colors, as well as a few other appearance options. I hope you've enjoyed the full tour of Darkside corruption, and if you're looking to jump up those tiers to get to either full Darkside corruption, or maybe you're just trying to get those yellow eyes, I have another video called How to Get Darkside Points Fast, which covers the different ways from activities to crafting to jump through those tiers quickly. If you want to show your support for this series, or to have similar Star Wars The Old Republic videos show up on your YouTube homepage, subscribe to this channel. And as always, may the dark side be with you.